Hello and welcome to our history podcast. Today we're turning the dial to 1990, a year rich in significant events that shaped the global landscape and cultural narratives. This is Old News, Story 1, the unification of Germany. This was a momentous event in European history, marking the end of nearly 4 decades of division between East and West Germany. The process began with the fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9th, 1989, a symbolic event that signified the collapse of communist rule in East Germany and the weakening of the Iron Curtain. This was spurred by mounting political and economic pressures alongside a growing desire among East Germans for freedom and reform, which led to peaceful protests and an exodus of citizens to the West. In 1990, under the leadership of West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl, and with the support of the United States, the Soviet Union, and other European powers, the two Germanys entered into negotiations for reunification. The Treaty on the Final Settlement with Respect to Germany, also known as the 2+4 Agreement, was signed by the 4 Allied powers and the 2 German states, paving the way for German sovereignty and unity. On October 3rd, 1990, East and West Germany officially reunited as the Federal Republic of Germany. This unification was not only a significant geopolitical shift, but also a symbolic end to the Cold War, leading to a redefined Europe committed to democratic principles and integration. Story 2. Nelson Mandela's release, a pivotal event in the struggle against apartheid in South Africa, occurred on February 11th with the release of Nelson Mandela. He was imprisoned for 27 years due to his leadership role in the African National Congress, ANC, and his staunch opposition to apartheid, South Africa's institutionalized system of racial segregation and discrimination enforced by the white minority government. He was convicted on charges of sabotage and conspiracy to overthrow the government, reflecting the government's effort to suppress anti-apartheid activism. Mandela's release was the result of both internal pressures and international campaigns against apartheid. The late 1980s saw increased domestic unrest and global sanctions that isolated South Africa economically and politically. Under President F.W. de Klerk, the South African government began to recognize the unsustainability of apartheid. De Klerk's administration initiated negotiations with Mandela and the ANC for a peaceful transition to majority rule. Mandela's release was a precondition for these talks and a signal of the government's commitment to change. Upon his release, Mandela immediately urged for national reconciliation and negotiations to end apartheid. His freedom sparked celebrations worldwide, symbolizing hope not only for South Africa, but for movements against oppression everywhere. Story 3. The Clean Air Act. Environmental awareness took a major leap forward with the amendment of the Clean Air Act in the United States. These comprehensive federal laws introduced measures to combat air pollution by controlling acid rain, toxic emissions, and ozone depletion. It reflected a growing consciousness of environmental stewardship and the urgent need for sustainable practices to protect the planet for future generations. Story 4. The Hubble Space Telescope. In a significant achievement for space exploration, NASA launched the Hubble Space Telescope on April 24th. Despite initial technical challenges, including setbacks with its optics, Hubble would become one of the most important instruments in the study of the universe, providing unprecedented views of distant galaxies, stars, and planets. Story 5. Technological advancements. British computer scientist Tim Berners-Lee published his proposal for the World Wide Web, laying the groundwork for the Internet's transformation into a global information and communication tool. Meanwhile, the development of high-definition television, HDTV, began to change the face of broadcast media. Story 6. Pop culture. 1990 saw the rise of iconic cultural phenomena. The premiere of Twin Peaks in April introduced a new style of television storytelling, blending mystery, drama, and surreal elements. In music, Madonna's Vogue topped the charts, influencing fashion and dance, while the release of Home Alone in November set box office records, becoming a beloved family classic and iconic Christmas movie. This has been old news, a year in review. In the words of Winston Churchill, those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Until next year, stay curious,